I am happy to talk about the Velma trailer because I am a cringe connoisseur. So there were a lot of people roasting it on Twitter. I think they're trying to bury the backlash because, firstly, HBO Max turned off the comments on YouTube. They censored a bunch of stuff from the YouTube trailer as well. There was a suitcase full of drugs that they changed into a suitcase full of money. They edited out all of the nudity. There was a scene where Daphne was like wearing no clothes, and then they put a towel on her on the YouTube version, but it was completely different on the Twitter version. There's also a fantastic ratio going on Rotten Tomatoes right now. It's 60% critic score and then 15% audience score.
I mean, 60% is even high.
I just have to read out this review from the Mary Sue. It said, I loved watching all the characters snipe at each other, and the best jokes are laugh out loud funny. The show also has good digs at sexism and patriarchy, but sometimes the show's gags are rooted in plain old fat phobia. Wow. So, we've gotten explanations for Velma getting race swapped to be South Asian like Mindy Kaling is, and her excuse was, it's animation. We can do whatever we want with it. And the essence of Velma is not in her whiteness. So I guess
only a weirdo racist says something like this. Here's the other thing that I thought was really funny. The first thing that stuck out to me, well, one, it's that Mindy Kaling has never been funny. Somebody, Mary says, well, what about The Office? I'm like, she didn't write The Office.
You said she's standing on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah. So here's the thing. The first thing I thought of was the Norville character, which is that the drug references that he makes because he's Shaggy, right? And they have to.
Right.
It screams of the corporatism of the world that we live in now. Like, you're not allowed to even make references to drugs in a way that would seem like he would be pro-drug. It's also weirdly politically correct and racist because they can't race swap Fred because Fred's dick. And you
have to hate him, so he should be white.
Exactly. And you can't make the black character a drug addict because that would be harmful stereotypes.
Well, I couldn't tell if that was like a self-aware joke that like, he's like lying and he actually is still a pothead.
You think I'm joking. These questions are asked in every one of the meetings when these shows are developed. There's no way that they don't ask these questions. Yeah. We'll talk about that more in the Camille Nanjiani one. Those are very, very important things that they have to ask. Not because anyone actually cares, but because there's 12 psychopaths on Twitter that will complain if you make that mistake. And these companies bend the knee instantly and don't know how to stand up for themselves.
One of the pitfalls of this trailer is that they're attempting to use this type of raunchy humor that you would ordinarily see in 2000s comedies, like Not Another Teen Movie, or they have like visual gags in there. And this is not, it took away all of the wholesome vibes that used to be in like What's New Scooby-Doo from the 2000s, and then replaced it with the same lowbrow humor that's in like Big Mouth and all the other adult cartoons right now. Like, by the way, if you're wondering why your favorite show on Netflix, like 1899, for example, got canceled, but Big Mouth is still running.
Oh my God.
Nick Kroll's father is a billionaire.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind the next time that a show you like gets discontinued on Netflix.
Tony Khan, the guy who runs AEW, the pro wrestling company, the one who owns it, his dad is like a gazillionaire and owns like it's like I love it that you can just like there's like different levels, like
Nepo babies much.
Your dad is like a doctor or a dentist or something. Like your dad can buy you a car, but like your dad makes enough money to employ an entire football team. He can just buy you an entire wrestling federation. And the same goes in entertainment. Nepo babies, even at the production level. The other thing that's funny is when I watch this trailer, it just reminds me, as much as I hate the ESG argument, because I feel like it's hard to define, and none of us here are finance, are finance guys.
Well, I have an economics degree.
Okay.
Little known fact.
Well, so this is the type of thing where it's like, you understand that it plays a role in something like this, if for no other reason than when they do investor calls and meetings and they have to tout their diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, which will be written in places like the Hollywood Reporter or Variety and stuff like that. How many times have we talked about? Sometimes we don't even cover it because we just get so boring. I hate covering the stuff where they do the diversity report every year. Like USC blackmails Hollywood by saying, well, it's diverse, but is it diverse enough? Our facts say otherwise. And the other thing is that they have these initiative programs where they hire people of certain backgrounds to do new projects, usually in mentor roles. And I think that those mentor roles get pawned off on projects like this, which are identity politics laden from the start.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
So it's kind of off to a horrible start because it's not done with any level of care or joy. There's no joy in this trailer.
No.
There isn't an ounce of joy.
The writing is suffering because they're trying to check so many boxes on the diversity
and it's
diversity
Snark.
chart.
And it's Snark.
Right. All of the characters are incredibly mean to each other. And I get that this is intended to be a prequel, so it's before they form Mystery Inc. and everything. Yeah. But I don't know. Velma is also extremely uncool and snarky, unlike the old Velma that was at least uncool but charming.
Yes. Well, charming is like bad now. Like they don't because and it's funny too in this case the show reeks of Kaling's writing and Kaling's style, meaning that like somebody who actually creates for a living, like let's say a James Cameron, who we rag on for his attitude, he can weave in and out of productions and create different things. A good director can create different things. Somebody like Mindy Kaling, everything that she makes is going to stink of her work. It's not going to feel like she disappeared into this creation and what came out was something beautiful that was different than who she is. All this is a weird type of self-insert projection of her view of the world, which is literally completely the opposite of what art is supposed to be.
It's so ditzy.
Yeah.
It's so ditzy. And this Velma character doesn't even make sense. Like, I've seen the trailer already, and she's doing graffiti, but she's also the big nerd that gets picked on at school.
Yeah.
Like,
Nemesis.
Come on, that's two characters that you're trying to throw into one, and it's not going to work.
She's not likable or kind like the old Velma.
A lot of people in the media are not likable or kind anymore.
And
like
they look down on it.
Yeah.
How often do I talk to you about the idea of warmth being important for female characters?
Right.
Like, you can be strong, you can be independent, you can be a woman, but there is a certain utility to a character having that, because the experience of the person watching the show is not the experience of the person that's actually in the show, meaning that like even if it doesn't seem to benefit the character in the moment, to get an audience to like you, there has to be a certain level of attachment. And you can't develop that attachment if there's never anything real or anything. There's never any vulnerability. There was no vulnerability in this trailer either.
It's also missing just the ability to appeal to a wider range of audiences, because when you add the nudity, the swearing, drugs and drug paraphernalia, gore, and of course twerking, because these awful screenwriters have an obsession with it, a la She-Hulk. But like, it's far from kid friendly. Obviously, no children should be watching this, which is a tell that the writers lack creativity to make something that is both kid friendly and able to appeal to an adult sense of humor as well. Yeah. It takes some sophistication to do that. Like, I think SpongeBob did that almost impeccably in its first seasons, and that's increasingly rare these days.
We're also glossing over the worst problem of all. It's yet another remake.
Yeah.
Well, another remake.
And it's also a remake that like divorces itself from the source material pretty immediately. If it's not going to be like, friendly to children, then what's new
Scooby-Doo did it really well. If it's going to be a remake, at least make it look similar, feel similar in some way. But this is completely divorced. There's not even a Scooby in it.
No Linda Cardellini. I want nothing to do with it. I also, when you mentioned the twerking, I remembered this video that I saw yesterday. So I think we should watch this. Maybe this is what Velma was thinking.
Okay. Shaking is such a primal practice of releasing trauma and somatic blockages and emotions through our body, especially our hips. Our hips, now we know, is where we store emotions. Yep. So when you are twerking, when you're shimmying, you are literally releasing trauma, releasing stored emotions from your hips. When you're bending your knees, you're crouching on the floor, you're connecting to earth, you're connecting to the womb, you're restoring your
Maybe that's what she was thinking.
Does this woman
the
know
mental
she can
gymnastics
breathe while she's
to
speaking?
justify
Maybe
twerking on TikTok.
Velma was she was really going through a rough patch, and she had to release all her
releasing her
trauma in the mirror.
Oh yeah,
in the mirror. That's what I think was going on. So it's like, I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt here, guys. I think she was just releasing generational trauma.
I just need an explanation as to why Velma is fat now. Why was that necessary?
She's always kind of been chunky, hasn't she?
No, she wasn't at all. In fact, there were so many memes about like thinking that Velma is hot just because she's like covered up. But like, she was never fat in the old series.
I think that we're just ignoring the fact that they just hate good-looking people now.
Yeah,
they don't like.
This is why people are watching anime, because like American adult-oriented cartoons suck.
Yeah, it's weird
They look
because
hideous and low effort.
yeah, everyone watches like the perfect image from, you know, Japanese media, but it's not okay to have that from a Western perspective because then it's just, you know, white supremacy.
Well, yeah, because men are making these things, and it's
Yeah.
okay if it exists, but not if it's existing in a world where men watch it, right? So
Patriarchal
beauty can exist as long as it doesn't exist anywhere near straight men.
Right. Yeah.
Because straight men are going to oppress them if they're beautiful, or they're questioning why they're choosing to be beautiful. And that goes all the way down to cartoons. And like you said, this isn't meant for kids. This is meant for the adult class that are now filling the Disney parks that aren't growing up.
Which is bizarre though, because yes, it's meant for like this humor that I've seen was very low IQ. So it's like if it is meant for adults,
It's Twitter humor.
what adults? Not even. This is so like twerking. Like the reason twerking failed in She-Hulk too is because it's like it's not funny.
No.
Like twerking is a sexualized act that you see on the internet. It's not LOL. Look at that person twerking, unless it's like an old
Unless
man.
you're laughing at the absurdity of it, but it's actually more disturbing than anything.
Yeah,
and
it's
of
just
course
why?
they had to hint at the like Velma's love interest being Daphne. And they want to like bait the insane shippers on Tumblr and DeviantArt, which is the only audience they can possibly get. But like even the fan art made by these insane mental patients is probably going to be better than the animation style they use.
Yeah.
Like if you just look at any still frame from this trailer, it just looks like shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did anybody here watch Santa Inc. when Santa Inc. came out last year? That's
I remember
the
that.
The humor of this is the same humor that came out of Santa Inc. with
Wait,
Seth
was
Rogen.
that 2021?
2021. So
Okay.
it was about a year ago. It's over a year ago now. But like it's mean spirited, and it's designed to be confrontational to the average audience goer.
Like a bad Santa type confrontation.
Yes.
Or- okay.
No, not even that. Even that has more widespread appeal than something like this.
Yeah, okay.
If Identity Politics had their own version of this. The other thing about it is like when you mentioned twerking, I think there's a disconnect there that a good artist and a good storyteller understands that. Okay, how many times when we're making a thumbnail do we have to remind ourselves that not everyone's in on the joke?
Yeah.
Okay, when you're acting out that scene, when they're writing that scene and they're, I'm sure 50% girl, 25% guy, 25% trans, writing room full of people of every single ethnicity that all think the exact same thing. They're laughing about this to themselves. And then they're laughing about it when they're recording the scene, not understanding that what they're laughing about doesn't translate to the image on screen because it doesn't connect in the same way.
Well, current writing rooms is like the child's toy of like the blocks in the bucket, right? And if the show's a square peg, instead of finding other square pegs to help write the show, they're finding pegs of all shapes and saying, no, you need to fit. You're gonna have to find a way to fit into this into this game, into this project. And it's suffering. Like they're like just the diversity hires, like I'm all for it, an all inclusive workplace and everything. But if you're just choosing a writer based on them filling, like I said, checking a box, whether it's a gender, sexuality, race, whatever quota you're trying to meet, your actual content and the product that you produce is not going to be of high quality.
It's the Burger
just
King
not.
Kids Club. Have you ever seen recently I followed this YouTube or this Instagram account called I Remember That Crap. It's actually I Remember That S word, but I don't want to say that on it right now.
Oh.
It's monetized. And they play old. It's like high quality versions of old commercials and stuff like that. And there's this one of the it's like a Burger King Kids Club commercial.
Okay.
Half the comments are like about like the fact that it was a statistically unrealistic group of kids all hanging out together, just like college brochures, and the other half of the comments were talking about the wastefulness of kids' toys. And it's like, you people would be great at parties. I'm sure you guys are a lot of fun, right? Like,
Yeah.
like for me, I see this stuff and I'm just like, of course the white dude's a dick. Out there.
Why is Fred like a toxic male?
Well, there's the one part, like it's he's
Like,
awful.
I don't talk to people who aren't hot.
And nothing made of any type of corporate creation like this is ever going to work off the bat. The only way corporations will be able to make things like this or release things like this that work is if they buy it from somebody who made it before it got popular.
True, yeah.
Right? Because they can't create. They don't know how to create and they don't know how to build. Now then ask yourself this question. If she had taken this concept, first of all, there's no Scooby-Doo in it anyways. So if she had just made a story, an animated show about a bunch of extremely diverse, snarky characters solving a mystery at their school, it certainly would have gotten comparisons to Scooby-Doo. But would it have not gotten more leeway off the bat if it didn't co-opt the name and characters?
Right. And we all remember the first trailer that came out that essentially addressed the audience and said, like, everything, like sarcastically, everything should just stay the same way that it always has been, right? You shouldn't change characters. You shouldn't race swap characters. And it's like, people are only telling you that because you stole their franchise that they like.
And there's no
They're
joy.
not just saying it out of nowhere because they're hateful.
Well, it's like how often, like, is anybody complaining about Wednesday Addams? No. Everyone loves Jenna Ortega and Wednesday Addams.
But that was a big risk.
Yes.
And that shouldn't be discounted.
Even that, I don't even know how much of a big risk it would be. Like, how much is Netflix really licensing out, like, the Addams Family for tons of money? That property's worth a hell of a lot more now than it was before they went in to do that. So it's like, there's no joy behind any of these productions. It's mean-spirited. Did Wednesday Addams come across mean-spirited? No, it did not.
They very could have like written it to be disdain toward the audience. That's what I worried about. That's what I mean by it's a big risk, because there are fans who come to it worried already that they are going to see their favorite character bastardized, and that's exactly what happens with Velma here. And all semblance of simplicity, sincerity is out the window.
I hate that.
Like, long gone are the days of like What's New Scooby-Doo having an intro song played by Simple Plan that was just like it was what it was. And there was no baggage attached, and we missed that. But
I think that's
those days are long over.
Why I hate so much of the entertainment these days is the lack of joy in the increased amount of snark. I'm so sick of snark.
Well, dude, it's because everything is politics now.
Yep.
It's one of the reasons why, like, I was so disenfranchised. I felt disenfranchised. I felt like essentially, what would you say? I guess ostracized from the dance music world, is because everything suddenly became politics when it's purely it's about escapism. It's about not being in the world. It's about not being in this this hyper politicized. It was like meant to be a step out, not to be a step into, hey, well, this is where you can rally for this, and hey, you can actually sign up for this and support us at our next rally. It's not what it's about. And that's in everything now. That's in comedy. Like, comedy is stand-up comedy, for instance, is no longer just let's wait for the punchline and clap at the joke because it's funny, because it's one of like the main jokes, and I didn't expect that, ha ha ha, that made me laugh. It's aren't I relatable, guys?
Yeah.
Don't you guys like what I did? Don't you guys like hearing what I have to do and like what I've done? Clap for me. Yes, clap for me.
It's like, I'm a piece of shit, just like you.
Also, we're closing in on the age where like the only type of humor that's allowed is self-deprecating humor, because you're not allowed to make fun of anyone else.
So tired.
It's like, which is like, it works for some people. Some people do that really, really well. Like there are comedians that can do that really, really well. But for the most part, you have to be extremely artful to make fun of everybody. Right. And even then, if you make fun of everybody, even if you were able to get a master list of every single type of person in the world and you made fun of everyone on there, you're still going to upset some people.
But even when you generalize, even the comedians that are great at making very generalized jokes, right? You always get those people that then start to complain and be like, because of this one person, the joke's inappropriate.
And because everything's politics, we have to suffer through Velma.
Yeah. Guys, let us know if you want us to review this in the poll. Seriously, the first couple episodes are already out. So we're already planning on reviewing the Last of Us pilot on Monday.
Oh, true. Okay.
That's coming out on HBO Max as well. That could also end up being a huge disappointment.
I'm not worried about it.
The
video games have rough transitions as it is, but so I just hope it's watchable.
The extremely high critic score is suspicious, to say the least. Nowadays, when a critic doesn't like, not even like, I don't even care if a critic hates something, because if a critic hates something, then I know it's immediately a political thing. When I can see a critic rating in like the mid 70s, I'm like, okay, then they didn't care enough to like trash it, but they didn't like it so much that they felt like they had to say something nice about it, maybe because of who made the show, this or that. So I'm looking for like fresh for me on Rotten Tomatoes is like 70 to 78%. Keep it in there, and I view that as good.
I say if we get 5 crisis parties, we all have to watch Velma.
All of us? I mean, if you're willing to commit to that, I guess.
That would be a lot of, that's a time commitment, guys, because it's what, 2 episodes a week? It's gonna be 2 episodes a week?
10 episodes total.
Yeah.
No, it's 2 episodes at first, and I think just 1 episode
So we're just
a
like,
week.
I did not sign up
He's like,
for
I didn't
this.
sign up for this.
I mean, I'll do it if I have to. I don't want to see like my.
Serge doesn't want to say it, but he has a secret thing for new Velma.
No, definitely
likes
not.
Indian
He's
Velma.
got
Especially
pictures.
on Mindy Kaling. It's the thing that I don't like about it is that it's like this is stuff that I grew up watching on Boomerang and etc. And I'm showing my age here. I'm 30 years old, guys. But I remember watching on Boomerang and etc. And I always loved it as a kid. I think it was even on Cartoon Network and etc. At the time too.
I'm showing my age because I don't know what the hell Boomerang is.
Well,
You
what
know what
happened?
Boomerang is?
Didn't Boomerang
Wow.
merge with Cartoon Network eventually?
Yeah,
And then they
Eventually.
split.
Oh,
at
never
times,
mind.
like,
Never mind. Okay.
depending on your provider.
I was like, wait,
Yeah.
never mind. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
subsidiary that came back together again,
Okay.
but it was on Cartoon Network essentially.
I mean, I never watched cartoons. Never interested me. Like I watch, like that's not true because I watch like Batman the animated series, and that's
Right.
another example of like cartoons that were made for kids, but like what you said earlier, the very very difficult art of making something for kids that can also appeal to adults.
Yeah.
Batman the animated series, Batman Beyond, and Justice League Unlimited, all of these series actually became more profound as you get older.
right,
Like,
definitely.
I mean, Justice League Unlimited, I think, came out like when I was like in high school or something like that. And I was like, by that point, I was like, I wasn't really watching it, but I watched it fully through when I hit my mid 30s, and I'm like, holy crap! Like, there's a lot of great stuff there. And certainly, Batman the animated series was kind of like the quintessential show that could be watched by kids but loved by adults.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.